Hello and welcome to this skating lesson. I'm Dave Leese and I'm thrilled to welcome back Alissa Czisny for our Grand Prix preview. Alissa, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I haven't been paying attention to any skating, so
That's
wish
okay.
me.
You've been more involved in skating, and I like that your background just went off. You were in Japan. You were doing stars in Canada. Like, yeah, what have you been up to? You worked with all these skaters we're going to talk about.
Actually, that's true. It's fun to see. It's fun to do shows with the skaters. It's fun to work with them even in this capacity, just to see them in practice, to see how they train, to see how they perform, and to see the other side of the personalities too. In fact, I'd like before we go, Kao Mura and oh my goodness, I just forgot his name. Tomoki. No, not Tomoki. What's his name? Shoot, I forgot his name. We saw them in Japan and we were watching the practice because we had to decide which program was on the TV show for Japan. And I was blown away by their show programs. And I really just wish that we could see that in competition.
Okay, interesting. Who else did you like working with?
It's actually interesting to work with Ilia because I didn't know what to expect from him last year before I met him on Stars. And he loves skating so much. It's really fun to see how he's not cynical about skating, which I feel like we get from people who are that good sometimes or arrogant. But it just is like he everything he sees, he wants to try. And he's so motivated to become a better skater. And it's really nice to see that someone who is as talented as him still wants to get better and wants to improve. And he knows the history of the sport too, which is really cool.
I had a funny conversation. I went to his show in
Oh, how
April.
was it?
It was good. Yeah. So I went at Wisa and I drove down and like Ari was like, "Oh, there's food in there." I wound up eating in front of a bunch of skaters and like the show options were like not the best, right? So I'm eating like pasta with cream sauce like right in front of Deanna, right? Who's just like loving this, right? And but he came and sat down and we had a funny conversation. So he was
With
there.
Ilya.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he came down right next to me. And Paulina was there, and you know, she had
Okay.
Max. So
Ilya's fun. He's still a child in many ways. Like he's got that puppy dog eagerness.
mhm.
And he's so talented at no matter like he's on a scooter and he's trying to do one rotation flips on his scooter and you're like, how are you so good at everything?
And I thought that Max, Deanna's partner, was really fun. He was
Super sweet. I had never met him until we were in Japan and he's so lovely, so much fun. It was really fun to work with Max and Deanna for Stars as well.
fun. All right. And you got a Nathan Birch program. When are we seeing this, Alyssa? You're
I don't
typically
know. They were gonna have a 35th anniversary performance June 6th for next Ice Age, but that has gotten postponed. So I'm not sure, maybe Dick Button Festival or whenever they have this performance. So it was super fun to work with them as well.
I can't wait to see it. Well, obviously, everyone knows that Frank Carroll passed away yesterday, and we wanted to send our condolences to everyone. We're doing honor him later this week, so we'll discuss the Grand Prix. But yeah, this. When did you first meet Frank?
Um, I guess my first year at Nationals, probably 2000 and well, not when I was junior, because I don't think he had anyone. So 2002 US Nationals, and I did such a legend. And I never really, had a private conversation with him or talked to him one-on-one. I was around him a lot on buses, in skating lounges, at competitions, and was such a wonderful, wonderful person. And it's brought
Encouraged
so much
him.
to the sport, especially because of his story, right? That he took from Maribel Vincent Owen and then became a coach when there was sort of a lack because of the plane crash.
Yeah, and yeah, just yeah, he was suffering for a while, so it's really sad. But yeah, it's a loss for everyone.
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting that he passed on the same day that the Grand Prix assignments came out. It was like, skating was such a huge part of his life, and it's moving forward at the same time, and it's just like a really interesting way that lined
Another
up.
another amazing thing about him as a coach is that he managed to kind of go from the old system to the new system and really didn't. I mean, he had Linda Fradiani and then he had Evan Lysacek and even beyond in the new system, he was able to keep up or at least had you know, the right team around him to manage to have champions in both eras of figure skating.
Yeah, I also thought at the end it was really interesting because even after, like, there was such a frank style of skater, right? When you look at Linda or Michelle Kwan or Karen, right? And they all have like really clean edges and the technique on the straight lines and everything is very in
Yeah.
place. And, the air position, everything is like just so. And it looks, very polished. And I think it was really interesting that towards the end of his career, he was working with, Daisuke Murakami, who was in Hackensack before he went to him. He worked, with Dennis Ten, from the Russian style of skating. And then a lot of other skaters went and worked with him, from Korea, from Japan. So it was really interesting to see later in his career how sought out he was and how adaptable he was to other styles. Like that's someone that's really brilliant,
And
right?
yeah, for sure. And I think he had a lot to offer in a way of like, you know, maybe not even just one-on-one coaching, but just consultation and understanding how to make a champion, which sometimes is the hardest part.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think like his work with Dennis Ten was amazing, right? And
Yeah.
so, and he brought us Lori Nickel. I mean, their collaboration elevated each other and they changed the sport. So, yeah. Well, I want to talk to you about Skate America. So, when you were competing, did you get to ever like choose which assignments you want? Like, how does that work? Does US Figure Skating call you up? Do you fill out a form? How did you?
From what I recall, we filled out something that said like your first choice, your second choice, your third choice, and you know, no choices are guaranteed. Usually if you're the champion, you just get America, that's just a given. Or if you aren't going to get a Grand Prix assignment, but they want you to get on the Grand Prix series, then you're sort of the TBD
Mhm.
choice for the country. But I think in my career I did all of them at one point in time. And I did skate America twice as an alternate,
Mhm.
and then once as the champion.
Okay.
My favorite was always Skate Canada.
Yeah. Oh, why Skate Canada? Then now you're fake Canadian. Yes.
I'm a permanent resident now. I'm official.
Okay. Yeah. You're an OK magazine and you're a permanent resident. This is great. Yes.
No, I liked Skate Canada. Well, one, because it wasn't far, so you didn't have jet lag, but I liked it because I felt that the audience was really supportive.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, Skate America could sometimes be scary because while the while the like support is amazing, the pressure, or sometimes you feel like you're being judged so much in a way that that can be debilitating.
You are. That's not, you are being judged. That's correct. Like, all the judges are there. Yes. It's like a mini nationals, but yeah.
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 But I think like those Skate America, Skate Canada as an American are the nicest because you don't have to deal with jet lag.
Yeah. The one thing I do wish, so I think it's interesting this year that Amber Glenn is obviously the US champion, but Isabeau, was the medalist at Worlds and they go by, the rankings at the end of the year and they would get.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's interesting, she would get first choice. She got to do Skate America. I really wish they had put them both there. And I know that maybe it wouldn't be necessarily the best, but within that field, they would both still have a very good shot at medaling. And I think it would make them both stronger.
That's a good point, but I also wonder if that would sell more tickets.
I mean, you would hope it would be good for TV. I always just think, listen, it's a shame that they can't do like, did you ever do when they did the third event? You had like the optional event to compete.
I did it, but that's why I got Skate America because Michelle Kwan and then consequently Sasha Cohen pulled out of Skate America.
Yeah.
But and then Michelle Kwan pulled out of the whole series, and I think Sasha pulled out of that being her third one, maybe, or her first one. But then she had a third one. I remember that happened, but I don't remember competing like ever as that as an option. So that might have been the last year.
Yeah, because when they had it as a third event, they could do more interesting matchups, which I think I had the ISU Congress on earlier, and they were talking about different ways to get engagement in the sport. And I think without Russia, we're really trying to build stars in skating. And you know, competition builds intrigue, and I think the more time you see recognizable faces and kind of build those storylines, I think is effective. So
Oh, and having someone say Ilia at all three at three Grand Prix.
yeah.
Do you remember when the Grand Prix final you had to do two different long programs?
Yes, but realistically, people did the same program with two different sets of music.
I
Right?
mean, that was talk about like not conducive to training.
Yeah, yeah. Like we really saw versions of programs where we had seen the skater perform that music the year before, but the choreography looked different. Okay.
And the elements were the same exact elements as your other program.
Well, you know what? A lot of the Frank skaters always had the same elements in the order. They found out what worked and they stuck to it. So that was, yes, but I remember.
That
Yeah.
was like Michelle's program, right? The last sort of 6 years of her career was the same. But it makes sense. Like if she liked opening with a triple loop or whatever, like I think she liked opening with triple loop, right? Like it makes sense that you want to keep what works for you at that point in your career. What is she changing up? Like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, she didn't always start with triple loop, but like later on, she needed
Later
to
on in her
get
career.
out of the way. So, yeah. But yeah, because I think as they're trying to build some of the excitement, it would help, especially because also a lot of the skaters do the challenger events now in, you know, right before the season, and those wouldn't necessarily be as necessary, like to go to Nebelhorn before you go to Skate America, you know, and
I'm
that
laughing at the Stars and Ice notes, the whole ball over here.
okay, we love this. Oh, okay. Yeah, Kurt was really wearing a lot of interesting goggles this year. There was a lot of interesting things happening before Stars. Yeah.
It
Okay.
was fun. We were kind of told to make it sort of old school, old fashioned Stars and Ice, where there's a story and there's um, a theme throughout, and to make people want to come back next year to see what the show is,
Okay.
less of who the skaters are and more of what the show brings. So we were tasked with bringing back old fashioned Stars and Ice,
Okay.
so to speak. So that was the goal. We were trying to make it as different as possible.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that next year is going to be, as crazy or as silly or as complicated. But the hope is just that people want to see what is the show next year, because people aren't coming for stars anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody, you know what I mean? Like we don't have stars in figure skating. Let's be honest.
Now, can Shoma do Stars on Ice?
Well, he did in Japan.
Oh, he did it. Okay.
Yeah, he did it in Japan. He was great. His number was it was the cover version of the Beatles song.
Okay.
So good.
I mean, I think you need to bring him to Canada. I know there are budgets and you have to put different skaters in different places for different reasons, but I just think,
Yeah.
some of the skaters with the audiences. So we haven't done a show since he retired also, which was super sad, but
Is he still skating? He's still skating, but doing shows?
yeah. I would love to see Shoma, Yuzu, and Nathan like compete against each other for fun.
Professionally.
Yeah.
And like Mao and Carolina, we've talked about this before. I think, but having watched Shoma's show program or watching the other boys in Japan, their show programs, it made me realize that we really are missing that in competitive skating. Not that they're not good competitively, it's just that they don't have that extra it factor.
This is what we need Yuka on, because she was working on that show that you were supposed to be in with Evgenia Medvedeva, the Sailor Moon on Ice, which got canceled because of COVID. She's always wanted to be a producer. Come on, Yuka can bring back the World Pro. If anyone could do it, come
That
on.
would be amazing.
Yeah, she can. Come on, Jeremy could skate. He could do whatever, right? He's still
Absolutely.
okay. So yeah, we didn't since Shoma, but I have to say, when he finished his program at the World Championships, it was clear that he wasn't going to medal, but he was so relieved and so happy. And I thought, oh, the boy is done. The boy is done. It was, yeah.
Has he been sort of looking to retire? I wasn't paying attention, but
He started to make a lot of statements last season that he felt he could no longer really compete with Ilia. I just think he was such like an emotional competitor and skater where for him to be on top, I think took a lot of mental and physical energy. And after winning back to back, I think it really took a lot out of him.
I mean, no kidding. And even though he's a better skater than Ilia, he didn't have an option. I mean, he was gonna lose to a quad axel.
Mhm. I think he's getting older, and I think the new generation is there. But with Ilya and Yuma, I mean, it's obvious, and Adam has been so successful. So
And the Olympics are still 2 years away, which is a long time.
yeah, yeah. Can you put that in skating terms? How long is it between now and the Olympics? It's about a year and a half to a little. It's like 20 months, right, between now and.
Yeah, and I mean, as for Ilya, it's fantastic because he has this year to sort of establish himself more as an artistic skater, and then the next year to win everything,
Mhm.
or to establish himself in that pecking order. And same with the other boys, but with Shoma, it's 2 more years that he has to try to keep his place at the top, which as an aging skater is difficult, and as a skater who was at the top and is the best in the world, he's not never going to do a quad axel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the quads that he's doing may lead him to injury by trying to do them for 2 more years if he's at that age, or if he's struggling with too much training,
Yeah.
as everybody does at that point. So, for some skaters, 2 years is perfect.
Yeah. I'll be curious what Yuma can do in 2 years in terms of getting.
Also someone who I think can establish themselves in that pecking order, because he lost a year, right? He was out for a year.
Yeah.
He lost that year, and he sort of had to remind everybody that he exists. But this year was for that, and this upcoming year, I think, is for, establishing himself on top of what he did last year. And then next year for the Olympics, he's a contender.
He's really grown his performance skills every year too, because he was a shyer skater when he first came. And working with Carolina and with Laura, you can kind of see the growth from year to year, which I think has been really important. And I like the fact that his coaching team with his father, like, they put in jumps when they're ready. I really hate to watch
Yeah.
that has a lot of mistakes and a lot of falls, and I think we see a lot of the European skaters who will like train in Russia or try to emulate that style. They throw in every quad, and you don't know what's going to happen throughout the season, and they're good at one competition and a mess at the others. And I like that Yuma is very
And
methodical.
then we get his performance because he's confident and he's not changing his program. And I mean, they obviously are working on his performance, but he looks naturally like he's that fantastic. I mean, I loved watching him this year. He was so entertaining and endearing. And that quad sow I've never seen a better one in my life.
Oh my God, there was one competition last year where Kurt said to pay attention to his quad cell entry, and then he like missed it right when we were watching it. I was like, I think I said we were watching it on TSL Live, and I said like, watch for it, and it wasn't the moment.
I think he did miss one this year, but it's like the most perfect landing of the quad too, not just the takeoff. It's so good. It's so fun to watch. Like when Yuzu jumps. Like,
Yes.
I want to know what that feels like. Everybody probably, you know what I mean? Like, it just looks fun.
So I think for Skate America, I think what's exciting to me about the women's field, the standouts, I think the fact that Wakaba is back. I think she was such a big personality the Olympic season with the Lion King. And
Mhm.
she's not a skater that's always in the mix every year. She's had injuries before, but I'm really hoping that she can build on. We saw her a little bit last year, and hopefully,
I'm very excited for her to come back.
yeah. So Rinka Watanabe will there, Yuna Aoki, Han Lee, Young Yu, and then Isabeau and Brady Tennell, and obviously always the TBD at Skate America, because USFS likes to keep everybody guessing and competing in the summer. So
Brady's back. I'm excited.
yeah, I think she's skating in
And
Chicago.
Alyssa Liu is back,
Yeah,
which I didn't realize. I guess she has the comeback entries to the Grand Prix.
yeah.
That's exciting though. I mean, that really throws things in the US a bit.
Yeah. I think that, listen, without Russia, there's an open door, right? And she's a very good competitor. She's still young, and I think US figure skating can use that competition, right? They can use,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I'm curious why she came back. Like, is there any story? Because obviously she quit on her own terms,
Mhm.
which is fantastic. But did she come back on her own terms? I mean, why else would you come back?
I don't
But
know.
that's why it's exciting, is most people come back because they actually want to be there again.
Yeah. I don't think you would come back if you didn't want to. I mean, she seems like she's someone that does what she wants, right? Like she's has
Yeah,
that.
which makes this extra exciting because then You know, it's not like your parents telling you to come back or someone telling you, like when you come back because you want to, there's a whole different aspect of your skating that's a maturity.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to see what she brings back.
Do you think it'll be hard for her to get all of her jumps? So we've seen her do double axel, triple sow, and triple flip, which I guess are her easiest jumps. We haven't seen all of her triples yet.
I thought she did Let's Toe.
Maybe I missed it on her Instagram. I have not studied it. I watched her in 2 shows where
Hmm.
she did a show with an orchestra that was quite good. She skated to like the song Venus, like Hulst. And she was, I mean, she has that renewed energy, like the freshness that someone has. I wouldn't say that her like quick twitch is back
Okay.
100%.
It'll take a while, but I mean,
Yeah,
she has time.
yeah. So
It's not like she came back in July.
yeah, like I think what's nice is that like the energy around her doesn't seem so tense or heavy as it did the last 2 years
Yeah.
she got to the Olympics. So I think with COVID and everything, and she had all of those coaching changes. Remember, she was supposed to go to Canada, and then COVID happened, and then yeah, just a mess. So yeah,
Who is she? Where is she now?
she's supposed to be going to UCLA. So she's going to be working with a coach, I think Philip Dugliermo, when she and Massimo did her programs, I think in San Francisco. But then when she's at school, I think she'll work over Zoom. But
That'll be tough if she entering as a freshman? She's a freshman this year?
I'm not sure. I think it looked like she's already down there. So maybe,
Okay. I haven't been paying attention, but it's hard if she's a freshman, you're entering college and you're trying to train.
I imagine there are a lot of coaches in Southern California who would offer to work with her, right? I think,
True, that's true. Yeah.
like, come on, at this point, if she has her jumps and she wants to compete, I don't think that's the hardest coaching
Yeah.
job on the
No,
planet.
and I'm not criticizing like her
Oh,
for going to school because I think that that's important because she has moved on with her life in a way. So now it's like, oh, I don't know what to do besides figure skating. No, it's like I also want to do this, and I think if it comes back and she's successful, then you maybe take a break for Olympic year, but that's not a decision you make now for sure.
yeah. I definitely think that US figure skating needs to work with the NCAA to expand collegiate skating and to create those possibilities so that skaters can go to school and either get scholarships and continue skating. Because I think it's interesting that we saw Karen Chen. Okay, this is where US figure skating's marketing is so bad, right? They have Karen Chen, an Olympian, who's at the collegiate finals, right? They don't post the video when she wins solo dance, which is such an opportunity to show people that you can go to the Olympics in
Yeah.
singles, right? And maybe your body doesn't want to jump or you don't want that
Yeah.
pressure. You want to still enjoy skating and continue to develop, your craft and your art. That's something
And
to
I'm sure it was gorgeous because that really is a missed opportunity by US figure skating.
like you think like, okay, like you own that competition. You can probably get that video for free. If you would put that on your you would put that video on your all of your social media platforms and think about it like she's at an Ivy League school. She's an Olympian, right? She's continuing to develop skating. It shows that you can continue to enjoy skating in several forms. It
Yeah.
expands another discipline, right? It's just like all of the touch points to keep people's interest, right? Because it's like Karen doing a different discipline that she came before. It's the comeback factor. It's all those things. And
Yeah. And just skating in school, like she's still keeping her identity in a way.
yeah, and that would have been a perfect opportunity for them to bless them.
I mean,
Bless.
yeah,
Yeah.
they should. I like what the ISU is doing and when they're live streaming
Yeah.
for countries that don't have a TV thing,
Yeah.
but I think it makes it more available to more people because it's free and it's right there. And it's, you tune in and you're like, oh, hey, there's what? There's people doing what? And as a non-skater or a skater, sometimes it's just nice to watch figure skating.
Did you see David Shapiro's performance at Collegiate?
Stunning.
Yeah. And Kurt's now this big fan. Kurt's a big Instagram like commenter. If you pay attention, yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but David is so he does stuff that I've never seen before too, which is so cool. But like, how does the greater world see that? You know, how can we promote skating in that way, whatever that way is, you know what I mean?
Are you gonna like rope him into IDI? Like
I'm gonna try.
Also, what was that IDI performance where it looked a little suspect? There was a lot of colors, multicolor things happening. It was
It was
interesting.
a fun little thing for the eclipse.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it was actually nice to, it was silly, but it was nice to do something that was for kids and like, you know, just to have fun and almost make fun of ourselves and not be serious. I'm all about serious skating, you know that, but like just to go out and to be silly and to make people laugh is fun. We got to do that every once in a while.
So Skate Canada, your favorite competition.
Oh, that one's stacked, hey?
Yeah. Oh, now
That one-
you're throwing around A's now. You're not actually from Canada, Alyssa. This is
Did I say that?
you did. You did. Okay. Uh
Oops, sorry.
so
I'll always try that
they
for
have
free.
multiple skaters in Canada, and after Canadian Nationals had zero crowd last year, I respect that they really have stacked this lineup. They have Sarah Maud Dupuis, Kaya Ruder, Maddie Skiza, so we'll see both
Now
of them.
they put their champion and their former champion in the same
Yeah.
one, but is that because Kaya can't get another one just because of her world standings?
Possibly, but you know what?
She didn't do Junior Grand Prix, right? Or something?
Yeah, she did it. There's been like a lot of, I think she had injuries. I don't think she, yeah, I think there's been different things about her over the last couple of years. Rino Matsuki, Kaori Sakamoto, who went back to a Rohini program, which she worked with him 2 years ago, and they made a tango for this season. So I saw a little preview of it and it looks good. Hana
Everything
Yoshida,
that Rohini does is good.
yeah, Yoshida, Yelim Kim, Seong Wee, Kurkova, Kimi Rapond, Alyssa Liu, and Ava Ziegler. So I'm excited to see how Ava Ziegler does too after she had that, good performance at Four Continents last year when she didn't go to nationals. And
That was such an interesting choice, but I don't think it failed her, that's for sure.
yeah,
It's just hard because when you like nationals is the deciding factor of what your funding for the next year and your kind of everything in a way, like just how you stand in the country.
she still got top envelope. Like she had
Yeah. Oh, well, because she medaled, right?
medals. So it
And
worked
that
out for her. So, and I don't think that she was the most favored skater domestically. So if she had to choose one or the other, that was a really smart decision by her coaches. So yeah,
yeah, it was a big gamble, but they knew what they were doing, obviously.
yeah. And then in France, we've got Luna Hendricks, Nina Pinzaroni, Kubanova, Wakaba is there again, Mai Mihara, Rion Sumiyoshi, Chayun Kim, and Amber Glenn. So interesting, Amber competing the third week. Usually, like the top skaters go to either.
Why did they not put Amber in Texas when she's from Texas?
Exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, I know that they're leaving it open because we'll give someone else a Grand Prix that wouldn't get it otherwise, but I'm talking about someone with a social media following that could draw tickets.
Alyssa, this is the good questions, right? I think and I don't think that putting some pressure on these skaters would be a bad thing, right? To put them there, or maybe put Alyssa Liu at Skate America and have her go against, Isabel, or go like Alyssa, Amber, and
It's
Isabel.
interesting because I think different countries choose different things. I mean, look at Luna and Nina, both are at the same one,
Mhm.
which will be interesting because they're a very, very close competition. And so having both of them at the same one, neither is going to want to lose to the other. But US figure skating, the way I feel that they always do it is that they try to get as many athletes as they can on the Grand Prix, as opposed to caring about the ticket sales. I mean, of course, they care about ticket sales, but I don't think that they want their top skaters to compete against each other. They want to protect each of their standings so that
Yeah,
when you get to the end of the year, they haven't beat out each other, which I don't think at this point in the
yeah.
way. Yeah, I think that they could change that up a bit maybe, and that would be interesting.
I think the other thing about that is, okay, yes, you want to protect your skaters across, right? But if you know that you're going against your domestic rival, you're going to make sure you're ready for that Grand Prix competition, right? You think about when Tara went against Michelle, right? They both, it was the Olympic season, they competed against each other. In
Yeah.
the 08-09 season, Evan and Johnny faced off at Skate America, and they both did well, right? Like they both competed.
Yes. It was that no, because I think it stops in 04, 05, the three Grand Prix, because
Yeah,
then
it
you
was,
have more of a chance.
yeah, it
Because
was,
what you would do is you'd put like Sasha, Michelle, and Angela Nikodinov at Skate America, so you draw the tickets, and then one of theirs would be like their non-counting Grand Prix. So then, like,
yeah.
Sasha, because she's not ready or whatever, Michelle would win, Sasha would get second, and then Sasha would go win her other two, and she wouldn't lose that points wise, or I don't know, maybe that changes how they look at it.
And I think 2 of the years, Sarah Hughes and Michelle went against each other at Skate America. I don't know. I think it just sets people up for a strong season when they know they have to be ready. Because how often do we see someone compete at a Grand Prix, they're a little bit injured, and if you don't do well in your first one, it's like the whole season is shot, right? And yeah,
But also, I think like we watch figure skating because of rivalries.
yes,
Let's be honest, that's part of the reason that watching the Russian train wreck was like watching a train wreck, because you have the three girls competing against each other, and one of them's not going to make it, or one of them's going to feel like which one's going to win, or which one's going to win this time, is why part of that was so exciting. I mean, regardless of the amount of quads that they were doing or the potential for a train wreck, we watched it because of the rivalry. And when rivals don't compete against each other until Worlds, there's no rivalry
yeah, and I
or
think
perceived rivalry. Like, we could make it up. They might not be actual rivals, but
yeah, I mean, I think part of that competitive rivalry is they actually have to face each other, right? And I think that's what collegiate gymnastics does really well is you see these people face off with each other and they're not afraid to. And it also makes you a better competitor, right? When you face someone that often.
because when you lost to them this time, why you lost. And so the next competition you show up and you've improved whatever that weakness is, because it
Yeah.
was,
And also the Grand Prix final, it's great, but Worlds is more important at the end of the day, right? Yeah, it's yeah.
yeah. I won a Grand Prix final, which doesn't really mean anything.
You know what? But you look so gorgeous doing it. That was and then you won nationals right after, right?
Didn't win Worlds.
Yeah. Wait, who won that Worlds?
We almost didn't have Worlds that year because of the tsunami.
The tsunami, yeah. Yeah, but I'm trying to wait. And that's when Worlds were postponed and Yuna came back.
And
Ando won those Worlds.
Ricky and Elena Leonova and
Yeah. Yes, that was an interesting
there
championship.
was a Russian on every podium.
That is correct. No, there was not. The Shibs got the bronze in ice dance because two teams fell, and Marina and Igor wound up sweeping the podium in ice dance because Marilyn and Charlie were first. Tess and Scott.
That was the first that's right. That was weird, but I don't remember people falling. But I even watched the ice dance event from the top of I remember we were finished and we were watching.
That was a great dance event. It was very dramatic. So yeah. But then the judges kind of pushed the Shibs down after they won. So yeah, that was
politics.
they didn't have the best program the next year either.
Was that when they did 3 years in a row of Coldplay? No, that was later that they did that.
That was later. Yeah. I never understood the trilogy, but they did. So that was what was
You know what? It's a choice. It was like Dennis Ten's short and free program both being the artist. Was it the artist?
Yeah.
It's a bold choice because we don't do that in figure skating.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, doing 3 years of Coldplay in a row makes it feel like you can't do anything else, or it could be perceived that way instead of as a trilogy.
I think I would be interested to see them skate now because we did see them in that very staid mold that they were in with Coldplay, and Maya's dress was always very conservative, the same cut from, right? If you look at them now when they were just at like their hair is completely different. They look very influenced by Japanese fashion. They just have a very different look to them.
Are they skating at all? I haven't seen them in any
They were
shows.
in Mao's show in a picture, but I didn't see a video of them. But
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
I would
Speaking
be.
of ice dance and totally off the subject, but no Gabby and Guillaume on the Grand Prix, right?
So
I
it
mean,
looked like they were going to come back, and then she gave that interview before Worlds, and now it seems like she really wants a break from.
oh, okay, yeah, no Grand Prix for them.
So yeah, no Grand Prix,
Like
and
to watch them skate
I know.
forever. Mhm.
That was, I really feel like, okay, without Russia, we've like really need like all the mini storylines we can to build interest in the sport and in the Olympics. Because as you said, like Russia was providing drama and intrigue, whether you liked the skating, hated it, whatever, right? Like it gave you a reason to watch, even if you were watching and complaining.
Yeah,
I think that, you know, we have to build up the stars in the sport. And I
and the
just,
rivalries and the stories and the personalities, which are not lacking.
yeah, I think the other two, I'll just, we'll talk about dance next. Now we will see Brady at NHK, Lindsay Thorngren, Alyssa Liu, Korokova, Hyen Lee, Yelim Kim, Kaori, Mona Chiba, Lara Naki Gutman, and Nina Petrokina. And then Finland is Luna Hendricks, Nina Petrokina, Rina Matsuki, Mai Mihara, Young Yu, Hana Yoshida, Isabeau, Lindsay. And then Cup of China is the sixth one, which is out of order than how they usually do it. Maddie Skizas, Kubanova, Monachiba, Rinka Watanabe, Rion Sumiyoshi, Chanyu Kim, Kimi Rapond, Amber Glenn, and Ava Ziegler. So all of the events are kind of stacked, at least like with domestically. I think how Ava does is interesting. Ava against Amber, Kimi Rapond. And there's the opportunity for people to win some medals this season.
I wonder how Chaeyoung Kim is going to be this year because she was just on the podium at World and quite a beautiful skater, but I'm curious to see what she will bring with her programs this year. And Hana Yoshida, she was at Stars, beautiful skater, but also mature.
Okay.
Fun to watch her. She had two wildly different style programs. It was very fun to see that disparity. I loved it. She
So
can bring a lot to the table. Sorry.
I wanted to ask you about dance, okay? Because Evan Bates has been competing forever. Madison Chock has been competing forever. So have Piper and Paul. They were all competing that season that Worlds was postponed. I remember Vanessa Crone and Paul, they had like the red and blue costumes that were, I think, Tor
The
Valentino.
Beatles.
Yes, right? Yeah.
Yesterday? No, I can't remember what it was. Beatles.
I just remember it was red and blue, right? And okay, at this point, they're both older teams. And without Gabby and Guillaume, and the Italians are favored to stay in the top three because the Olympics are in Italy. But I don't think do you think that means that those three teams are going to stay the same? I really felt at Worlds that Marjorie and Zach made a really strong
They
push.
were fantastic last year. I was talk about like most improved for the season.
Mhm.
Or I just haven't been watching ice dance and suddenly,
They were very,
bam, there they were, and they're very good. But I also thought Evan and Maddie and Piper and Paul were fantastic, fabulous, spectacular last year. And I wasn't expecting that because they are getting up there in age for figure skating and they've been around a long time. And what else can you bring? And blah, blah, blah. And maybe they don't feel pushed by younger teams, but then they both came with programs that I thought were better than they've ever had before.
yeah. I heard a little bit, I heard that Maddie and Evan, that they're doing like dance through the decades for this, they have to do like the social party dance, right? For the rhythm dance. But I've heard some choices that could be good. Like some like
I'm rolling my eyes at the not their choices, but the choice of the rhythm dance.
yeah, well, yes. There's a junior team at my rank that does a program that it's a choice, right? Like
Well, they're trying to make it modern, but I feel like when I watch solo dance, that they're not as I mean, I know they are constrained, but I feel like they come up with better things than half the dance teams. just music and style choices, not skating. I mean, obviously skating is fantastic too, but like it's awkward. The choice of rhythm dance feels awkward.
Yes, for whatever reason, I think it's going to be better than the 80s based on what I've heard so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes me feel better because I thought this is really going to be worse than the 80s. The 80s wasn't terrible. I mean, they have great music, so
I thought the 80s, the execution of the 80s, I thought was horrible, right? Like the choices, everybody picked the same songs that were really obvious, like Footloose. We didn't need to do it, right? Like there's so much great music from the 80s if you were willing. We
but
didn't
I
need
was
a literal thriller program. Like that was like, it's almost like if you went to like get a color from a box and you pick like, you know, from the Crayola box of 8 colors, when there's a box of like 128, like right next to you. Like, I
you
don't
just
know,
picked blue.
like you tried this much, right? Okay, right. You picked regular blue. Okay, right. Like there was so many great choices from the 80s and nobody picked them. Nobody spent any time. So
To me, it's also like Jesus, the gym is very loud, sorry.
that's great.
I felt like with I don't know dance rules. I don't even pretend to know dance rules. There are so many of them regarding everything, but I was wondering if people were trying to be extra cautious with their choices because of the dance rules. Like it doesn't fit in this category, and I know that it said the music had to be written in the 80s, but it didn't. You didn't have to use the one that was out in the 80s. But like we were talking about this last season, and I said I would use U2 because I like that. But like, would that count as a rhythm dance? Like, what are the parameters that you have to choose from the 80s, and how do you know that the judges are going to like it or the tech panel will accept it? Like, what are those small rules that we don't know?
Well, for the pattern, they usually have to, you know, the music has to fit a certain beat, you know,
Yeah.
but then the rest is, you know,
And now
discretionary.
there's the proposed deduction if you have to change the music to match the beat.
That's interesting. Okay.
It's in the proposal. It's like, and I can't remember which country proposed it, but if you have to change the music to match the rhythm that's needed, then it's a certain deduction. And then I was like, are they sitting up in the tech panel going on to Spotify or iTunes and checking out what the original rhythm is?
Yeah. I'll be curious. Do you think that getting rid of one jumping pass to give people more of a chance to do, and do you think that that is a good decision, right? To get rid of that?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm watching nationals, US nationals this year. I was like, can we please just stop jumping? Because it's boring. It's like bang, 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 like a kill drill, you know, when you have to do jump at every end. And I felt like we lost the program, and I'm hoping that this will help. But then there's this thing about the choreographic spin.
Yeah, what would you do for your choreographic spin, Alyssa?
So, okay, so obviously they're potentially changed, or they have changed, sorry, changed the spin rule so that you can only have two difficult variations per spin,
Hmm.
which is going to make it a lot harder to get 3 level 4 spins. So instead of saying, look, we understand, you know, like give it a try and see if you can get 3 level 4 spins, it's like, no, just get 2 level 4 spins and then do whatever you want for the third one,
Yeah.
which I'm not opposed to because we've talked about choreographing your spin to the music.
Mhm.
And let's be honest, most of the spins out there are ugly.
Yes.
So I'm not opposed to it, but I'm opposed to the fact that now spins are worth even less. And for a ladies long program, no jumps have been taken out. So now the spins are worth this much and jumps are still worth this much. And like,
Yeah.
uh,
So I think that they should make the spins worth more. No, like just I think you should set the base higher for a choreo spin, right? Like they do in dance.
I didn't find a base value for it though.
Okay, we
Do you
have
know
to.
the proposal is like 124 pages long?
Yes, I tried to like read through. I was talking to Maya this morning about like she was talking about how many times she went through it. The thing is, for the choreo spin, I think if you set it at a high level, it could be good. And I really don't believe that you need levels and GOE to determine like how good someone is at spinning. Like I think you could be good enough to know, right? I think the levels actually make that more confused. What I think is because like someone like Luna Hendricks has a great Bielman, but her basic layback is a poor position, right?
True, so
And
she could just do Billman. But here's what I don't like about the choreographed spin proposed thing is it says must be at least 3 revolutions.
well, don't you want to spin to be 3 revolutions, Melissa? Like, isn't that
I would like it to be at least 8.
Oh, well, yes. Well, don't you think it needs to be like,
Like, why would you say must be okay for pre-juvenile or whatever? Like, do three revolutions and leave because you don't have time for, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a short program or a short time frame program and it's your free skate and your pre-juvenile or juvenile and you're just trying to get as many elements in as you can, like then it would be fine. But let's be honest, I'd like someone to do a camel spin for 8 or 10 or 12 revolutions and just be a pretty camel spin and do some cool things with the music. I'd much rather see that. But if they're saying it only has to be 3 revolutions, like what does that mean?
that's a good point. That's a good point. Someone, okay, I was talking to a friend about the Connor Stakem, who competed for Ireland, was talking about, he thought that because like the spins, you're getting rid of having to have features on the third spin. He was like, at least skaters who aren't the most flexible can choose the positions that they're best at, which could make the spins less hideous, right? Because you
Yeah,
have
no, I agree.
you have to like cram these positions and make them work. Um, the other thing is, I would like to see between the two programs, like I'd like to see a base layback. I really am tired of seeing every skater do the same spin, and I don't think that a Bielman is a layback. I don't, right? Like I think a layback is a layback, right? And I want to see.
Yes, and I love laybacks, but I just think like sometimes the potential for injury for your back, or what if you don't have a good back and then you're
Wait,
required
wait,
to
whoa,
do
whoa, whoa. Don't you think that the potential for injury on a Bielman is also pretty significant?
100%. No, I'm not saying that. I think the side layback and the haircut are the worst for your back. I think doing a plain basic layback probably led to a lot fewer back injuries.
So I want to see I want to see an Angela Nikodinov layback, and I really think that the public does too. I just don't think that they know that they want to see it, right? Because they have
No illusion beforehand.
no illusion, no jump out of it. Just give me a nice layback, right? And set it so that everybody does the same damn spin, right? And we can just evaluate you on -5 to +5, which gives us 11 different marks to rank you, which I think is pretty sufficient, right?
And then you can still have it like the choreographed spin where it has to go with the music or how you do your arms in the spin or whatever is part of that +5 to -5 marking. Because yes, you're right.
Watch Sasha Cohen's Romeo and Juliet at the Olympics. Her spins were actually choreographed to the music, which you never see done. And it was actually really musical and really impressive and added to the performance. I just think overall it's been a missed opportunity. I also want to see a camel change camel, right? Like as one of the, because I think it's really boring to see the same spins in both programs, because then what's the difference between the two programs?
And I want to stop saying, I mean, I'm glad that they changed the difficult variation thing, but I really want to see somebody hold their spins. Like the hold for 8, when I was competing and I used it to the extent that I could, the
Mhm.
hold for 8 feature, I could do it twice in a spin and I could do it in every spin. So I did it in my combo spin twice and I did it in I don't think I did it in my flying camel. I think I changed it, but I might have. And I did it in my layback.
Mhm.
Like I used it in as many spins as I could because I could spin fast and hold it. But then like, for example, Keegan Messing, like I'd like to see him do a camel spin for 8 because it looks so good and he can do it so fast too. But like, where's the um, like we lost that beautiful, nice camel spin or that beautiful, nice just
And
a
I
spin.
and I really don't want to see every skater trying to do the unicamel, like the layover position, because the leg is always really ugly, or their legs are really short and it just doesn't look good on them, but they feel like they have to do it for the points, and it's just really ugly. So,
All of them. Broken legs, tuck spins, like let's be honest, they don't. I mean, they're fine and I'm not against them and they're whatever, but like we've lost the beauty of spinning by trying to cram in these really pretzely positions. And
Ari, Ari,
Natalie Cook doing it is beautiful, but people who can't do it, it looks bad. So give them another option, like a hop between their spins or a difficult exit. I mean, there were some really cool difficult exits last year, which I did make fun of that feature because I said, whatever you do as a difficult exit doesn't affect your spin. So it shouldn't be part of a spin feature. But there were some cool ones. People do butterflies out of them or Arabians. There were some cool ones. Then there's some where you change feet and you do illusion, and there's nothing difficult whatsoever about that. It shouldn't be going from a Bielman and doing an illusion on the same foot. That's hard.
okay,
Going from a Bielman and changing feet to do an illusion, there's nothing hard about it. It shouldn't count.
okay, all right.
How
These
many
are
questions now?
all right. Well, that's it. Within ice dance, I at least think it would be interesting if the two Canadian teams were actually going to be, you know, battling with each other. Because I think politically it's always tough for two teams in one country, but
Yeah.
I don't like, okay, one thing that I don't like is when people say, well, an Italian has to be on the podium because worlds are in Italy. No, that is like, that's not like a thing, right? Like we can kick them off, right? Like they don't have to be there. That makes the sport uninteresting. That's like a pageant, right? That's not a thing, right? Maybe it's an unofficial thing, but it's also ice dance. And I think that one of the things that has made the last 2 years not that interesting is that we know who the top three ice dance teams have been. And it's almost been like we're waiting for them to graduate, where we're like, oh, they're just going to stay there because they're all going to stick in. No,
It's
yeah.
it's such a thing in ice dance that almost like I feel like judges probably wouldn't even feel comfortable putting someone ahead of the top three teams because you're not supposed to do that.
But I think at Worlds, Marjorie and Zach did so well, and Fear and Gibson have been on the rise.
I'm
That
not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying that it feels like everyone in this sport's like, oh, you can't touch the podium.
I think we need to touch the podium. I think it would be good if, I'm not saying the whole season, but at least at a couple competitions, the podium got shook up, because otherwise it's going to look like it's predetermined. Even though you can get better at ice dance over time and these people become better performers. We just saw Madison Chock in her cloth era where she's skating with fabric and being a diva, right? But I do think,
In Japan.
yeah, right. But I think that,
That should be the proposal for ice dance. You can use a prop.
Alyssa, no, no, no. What are the props allowed?
I don't want a 126 page proposal for props.
I don't want to see people skating with hats and then everybody's going to use the hat and then everybody's going to use it in the same way. This is like how this is why the system is so annoying, is because we saw, okay, we couldn't just evaluate a spiral sequence, right? Everyone was like, oh, the spiral sequence was ugly. Yeah, because they said you had to do 3 different positions. So then everybody was doing the position where they held up the leg. It was terrible. We could have just evaluated you on 2. We didn't need to do the whole thing.
We need to do 4 for a while.
Awful, awful. Okay, they ruin everything that's nice. Why can't we have nice things? Okay, yes. And people are like, well, not everyone did a pretty spiral. Yes, and we gave Arina Slitskaya the mark she deserved for that spiral. Okay, if you go back and you watch any program from the 6-0 era, you can evaluate how good a skater is by the layback and the spiral. Even more than the combination. It's like how much they care about detail.
And I feel like it was because American women had good spirals and laybacks, and it was a thing, and American women were dominating, that if you wanted to be considered podium material, you had to have those 2 things to be considered.
They also had nice choreography and skating skills in general, because
some of those programs though were not like pointing everybody out, but some of those programs are hot messes where you would like add 3 different musics from, fast, slow, fast, but like there were 3 different soundtracks. And I mean, do you go back and look? Some of those are like entertaining hot messes.
yes, which we enjoy, right?
Just true.
There
So true.
are some hot messes now. Okay, I mean, you know what? But I appreciate a hot mess that keeps your interest.
That's true. That's true.
I won't get over it that Jenny was like, yes, I have to come in late, do the live show of Worlds, watch the first group. Nobody was in the stands. Nobody, I was in a stressed out place, okay, during Worlds. I'm gonna like own it, okay? I was very negative. I was stressed out. I was injured. I'm sorry, what?
With this Worlds?
This Worlds. I watched every women's competitor and I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't, and I still remember them in horror, okay? And we were getting like there were very few skaters that I thought were watchable in women's event. Okay, I was really missing at least the train wreck element. Tuktamisheva for some camp. Like, I'm not calling her a great skater, but man, she's campy and entertaining. Okay, we didn't have personalities. I wanted Wakaba there.
It's the personalities that we're missing. And I noticed that at US Nationals, I only say this because I remember sitting there thinking like, we have lost skating. We've lost something in skating. Because which to me is wild in this day and age when we have social media and like the availability of skating videos. Well, maybe not if you're, you know, geo blocking everything, but like how do we not, how are people's personalities not first and foremost in skating? That's what we've lost. And that's why the top skaters are the top skaters. Obviously they're good, but also like we want to watch Kaori because she's got such a personality. And
You want to watch Paulina compete, don't you? Like her Instagram is just event television. I told her, we discussed it in person. She pretended like she didn't know at
she
first.
did the show that you went to.
Yeah, she was there. Yeah, it was a good time. She was there. Um, okay. And she was one of the best skaters there. So,
This is why we need to have professional skating because people just get better when they stop worrying about 7 triples and 3 level 4 spins in their program.
but in show skating, every female can't just do the soft lyrical ballad because it starts
But,
to get.
but when you go watch pro competitions, they did it.
They did not, right? I
I mean,
mean,
there's some really, I like going to watch them because they're kind of inspirational. Like, you know, you go to stars sometimes, and I'm not like saying this year or any year because I thought the numbers this year in stars that everyone came with were fantastic. But there's the thing where like the girls do the slow piece and the fast piece, the slow piece, and there's no like, it's just the slow piece and the dancing fast piece. And why have we gotten into that? Why is that our natural go-to, a slow piece and a fast piece?
what was that program where Deanna was kneeling on top of Max and maybe like what was happening there? And Let's Hear It for the Boy was
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, they did. It was actually part of the storyline of the show. It was, I loved it because it brought out their personalities and they have fantastic personalities. And it was really fun because I think the crowd loved that too. A
I
little
never
bit.
saw the whole program. I never saw the whole thing. I only saw clips of it on Instagram. So I would
Oh,
be like, what
if I
is
had
happening?
the video, I would send you. It's a cute little program because it does have it heralds a little bit of that old school um personality in a program.
Okay. All right. So Skate America has a really stacked field for dance. And the interesting thing here is that Chalk and Bates are against Fear and Gibson, and they should go 1-2. But the for bronze, it's a little more open because Baudrey and Sorensen are there. They had a rough worlds, a lot of controversy about last season. L'Oreal and Lagak, Moroskova and Moravchik. I totally messed up that pronunciation. I apologize. I don't go check. Smart and Deke.
I'm
Then
interested
David.
to see them this year because now they've had a year together.
Yeah,
So I bet they'll have, jumped up the ranks quite a bit.
I
They
hope.
always have, Olivia always has fantastic programs. Like talk about bringing
Yeah.
your personality. She does.
But if you want to stress me out, when you've fallen at the World Championships, I don't think that that's the moment to then post a million clips of you falling in practice. Like just not, we want to think that they're competitive and serious. And she like, yeah, they can start posting like themselves looking good in practice. Like we don't just have to be self-effacing. Davis and Smokin, and they've been in Montreal now for
Who do
several
they
months,
represent? Oh, Georgia.
Georgia. So they're supposed to have
They're
a
in Montreal.
yes.
That's news to me.
Think of that,
Everybody's in Montreal. Who's not in Montreal?
Piper and Paul.
Piper and Paul. And that's why they are fantastic because I mean, I think what Montreal produces is fantastic, but you can only have so many teams before you run out of ideas, I guess. I don't know how they do it.
But they do have the one thing I'll say about Montreal is they have a bunch of strong skaters, right? Like last year, they didn't have the strongest crop there for the last 2 years. And listen, I think everybody knows Gleb Smokin's a very powerful skater. They also have Anton Spiridonov there. So they have like strong skaters to push, I think, things forward a little
And I
bit.
think what they do, like as far as not just athletes, but as people, they take care of their students. And I think that, they're very much, they do as best they can to bring something that's personal to each team. But I
Yeah.
just don't know how you do it when you have 30 teams.
Yeah. The other thing that, obviously there's such a focus on the top skaters, right? But I think John Luke has been coaching there, Caitlin Hawaii has been coaching there. And they have a bunch of other assistant coaches who I think have a much bigger role than we realize. So
Interesting because yeah, then each team has their own special little, these people are taking care of me, these people are taking care of me, so that you know that you're not lost in the shuffle.
yeah. So
It's cool.
I'll be curious if Diana and Gleb can develop, can move. Obviously, there's a lot of political cachet behind them, and that's a marriage of two political powerhouses. Atari is not supposed to be at the Montreal rink from all accounts, but I think she will be at Skate America because Nika Agadza is there. So as much as Montreal wants to distance themselves from her, she's going to be in the building, right? So that's and she doesn't have a lot to do, right? So
I was gonna ask, I mean, I haven't been paying attention. Do we have, obviously Russia is not competing this season as we see from the Grand Prix.
yeah, Russia's not competing. And the TBD, Annabelle Morozov is skating with Jeffrey Chen, and they're training with Charlie White. And then Anton Spiridonov is training with Vanessa Pham. So, and it looked like Annabelle was maybe going to go the route of marrying her other partner before Jeffrey Chen became available, which is the most Nikolai thing of all time.
And
So,
she's got American citizenship, yes.
yeah, and like, I don't think Jeffrey Chen is her last partner. Like, I don't think that's her first. I think they got her in the school, right? And I think Ian Somerville and that partner aren't the best match. How much do we want to like bet that there's like a shakeup in that school? Like before, like I would put the two stars together, right? You have like his great skating. Annabelle is an amazing actress, performer, strong skater. I would put the A team together, and then maybe Charlie could have an Olympian, right? Like this is what I would do. This is what in ice dance we had so many mismatched teams last year. It was like, what are we doing? Like, what are we actually doing?
It's like, yeah, it's hard because someone quits or someone changes and then you're like, these are the people available and you want to compete that season because people forget you exist otherwise, but then you're stuck with someone who you're not matched with. So, you know, this is not a day and age to wait out a season.
Yeah. So also we've got the Browns, Zingis and Kolesnik, Brady and Somerville are in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah, I'm
Koreans,
excited to see both of those teams this year because they were fantastic last year. The Browns are really amazing skaters. I don't remember being blown away by their work last year, but skating skill wise, they're some of the top in the world, I think.
yeah. And Marjorie and Zach are going against Piper and Paul at Skate Canada. So I think that's
We were just talking about that, weren't we?
so that's interesting. I think France, Loriak and Lagok, Moroskova and Morancic,
Opereva and Brissot were quite better than I thought last year as well.
yeah, Guinard and Fabry, Allison Reed, Brady and Somerville, Leah Nessett and Mark Love, they're moving up from junior. And then,
They just won Junior Worlds, right?
yes, and then Eva Logan By. NHK, Green and Parsons, and he just had knee surgery. So they have later Grand Prix this year. Chock and Bates, Carrera and Ponomarenko, who are supposed to be doing Carmen. So I think that's an interesting choice. Allison Reed.
I thoroughly enjoyed the Finnish team, Jukka Orahari and Juho Pirinen last year. Remember we talked about them and Julia and Matthias?
Yes.
Both teams had great programs last year.
And I really like Yulia Tequila, who's competing at Finlandia. Piper and Paul, Natalia and the Tashlers, the Koreans, Fear and Gibson, the Browns, Peyton By, Zingis and Kolesnik. And then a cup of China, Green and Parsons, Carrera Ponomarenko, Guinard and Fabry, Davis Smolkin, Tequila, Smart and Deke, and Marjorie and Zach. So I think that there is potential to kind of shake things up. I just hope that the fight isn't for the bronze medal at every competition. Like I would like to see some intrigue and stars. As far as the men, I think it's going to be an interesting year. Kevin Amos is back competing. He's at Skate America. Wesley Chu, Nika Agadze, Kalmira, who you liked. We're going to see Denis Vasilyev, Donovan Carrillo, Ilia Malinin, Maxim Umov, and there's a TBD for the men. Skate Cat.
Kazuki Tomono, sorry, I just was looking. That was the he's in France. Kazuki was the one that I was blown away with how good he was skating.
We love Kazuki.
I could not remember his name, Kazuki.
Go watch his La La Land from the Olympic season. It'll make you happy. It'll make you happy. It was just like one of those programs. Like the ending is amazing. Ilya's going back to back Skate America and Skate Canada, which is interesting.
In a way, it's easiest though. You don't travel. You don't deal with any jet lag. You don't deal with getting, any of the travel problems.
Mm-hmm. Jason Brown is going to be back on the Grand Prix. Junhwa Cha, Shun Sato, Sota Yamamoto, Gabriel Frangipani, Mark Gordnitsky, Roman Sadovsky, Stephen Gogolev, and Vladimir Litnitsev. I'm curious to see how Roman does because he's had, a couple of tough seasons. Junhwa Cha was injured last year, but he's really been phenomenal. And
He's great at stars in Japan. I was like, oh, I forgot how good of a skater he is. I don't know why I forgot, but like sometimes you see people live in a show program and you're like, I just want to watch this for the rest of my life and not competitive skating.
now Jason, who's done a million shows, didn't do stars this year, which I thought was interesting.
I don't know why. I think he was working on programs already for this next season or Olympic season and just decided to really go back to competitive to get ready for the Olympics.
I think it's exciting because he was struggling with the triple axel a bit last season. He just wasn't as sharp as he was the year before. So I think with extra training, we'll see good things for him. So I hope he can, medal in these fields. I mean, it's a tough field, but he can definitely put out good performances.
Proven it time and time again at Worlds.
Yes. So yeah, listen, we need him. So in France, it's Torgashev, Camden Polkinen, Lucas Bricci, Mikhail Shidorov, Kazuki Tomono, Koshiro Shimada, Nikola Memela, Adam Siohim-Fa, and Alexander Selevko and Boyang Jin. So Boyang Jin had a really rough world, but he's
right.
He's one of those up and down people that he puts out great performances randomly and then also doesn't. So at NHK, Tomoki Utashi, Jason Brown, Kalmira.
Did Tomoki compete at nationals? Did he? I thought he quit. Why did I think he quit? Did he quit? And he's coming back? Am I confused? See, I haven't been watching skating. I'm sorry.
I do not think that Tomoki quit. I think you're blowing my mind, but he was training in Japan.
He didn't compete at nationals, though, right?
Maybe he withdrew from nationals. People will know in the comments.
Okay, there we
go. I was not expecting to be girls on Tomoki's nationals performance. I don't remember it. I'm sure it was
just in my mind. He was
definitely not in the top 4 if he was there. So it's a complete blank. Okay. I don't remember Tomoki at nationals. It was completely unmemorable. I'm sorry. I don't like wait, and now I have to look this up. Was Tomoki at nationals?
I'm excited to see Mateo this year because I feel like he keeps getting better year to year. And I know he was injured last year.
Okay.
And speaking of bringing personalities to skating, I think the Japanese men are really stepping it up with the personality on the ice.
Yes. Okay.
And their programs are amazing.
All right. Was Tomoki at nationals? He was 8th at nationals, and then he was 11th at 4 continents. So he was there, Alissa. Okay.
I don't remember that.
Remember if he
thought he quit. I don't know why I thought he quit. Anyways, glad to see him back on the Grand Prix.
Listen, it was like he quit. We didn't even remember that he was there. Now he's making a comeback in your mind. Yeah.
Because he's quite a talented skater.
So Jason Brown is going to NHK. Kalmira, Yuma Kageyama, Mateo, Gabriel Frangipani, Mark Gordnitsky, Stephen Gogolev, and Vladimir Libnitsev. Interesting is that Daniel Grossel is competing at Finlandia, and he had missed 3 drug tests. So apparently that suspension has been reduced to 1 year.
Okay, I was wondering because it's usually 2 year.
Yeah, so we'll also see Alexander Selevko, Kevin Amos, Kazuki Tomono, Sota Yamamoto, Junhwa Cha, Lucas Bricci, Camden Polkinen, and in China, Denis Vasilyev, Mikhail Shidorov, Shun Sato, Matteo Rizzo, Nikola Memela, Nika Agadze, Adam Siohim-Fa, Boyang Jin are really the standouts there.
Why are not both of the Selevko brothers on the Grand Prix? Does one not have enough points?
I guess so.
Because I thought they were both quite good.
Yes. And one of them was I think the other brother was just doing quads with Torgashev and Ilia Malinin on Instagram.
But the personality that I believe is Alexander brought to his program at Europeans was fun to see. It was almost old school Russian, but like in an endearing way instead of an arrogant way.
Yes.
I liked it. Also, he's the one who brought the heel spin, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is now going to be a feature.
As
And
far
now-
as pairs, it's still pairs is really a rough go. There's still not a lot of big names. I think the highlights are, Riku and Ricci are competing at Skate America, and we're going to see Efimova and Mitrofanov against Ellie and Danny. There's a TBD there. Audrey Shin teamed up with Balazs Nagy, so maybe they would get
Wait,
that.
he was just skating with Chelsea Lou, and we were so excited for them next year.
Well, now you have to be excited for Audrey Shin, and
That's fine too, but what happened? Oh, I'm so sad.
yeah. Skate Canada, we're going to see Emily Chan and Spencer, which they missed most of last season because of injuries. We will see Makari and Guaris, the Germans, Hawk and Kunkel, Deanna and Max.
The Australians too,
Yeah.
which
And
grew so much last season. They must have struggled because of that.
yeah.
That's hard. Just when, I think she grew like 6 inches or something. It's hard when you're doing pairs and growing. I'm sure it is. It's hard when you're doing singles.
Yes. In France, we're going to see Leah and Trent, Hong and Wang, which I liked their program last year. Fabian Haas and Volodin, Germany, Conti Machi, Italy, and Gilardi and Ambrosini.
Oh, we have one Italian match up there. Is that the only time the Italians compete against each other this? I think so. I mean, that was fun to watch at Europeans and the nationals that fight for the 2 spots. Do they have 2 spots again this year or 3?
Oh my God, you're like really putting me on the spot for all of this. Oh my goodness. Wait a second. Italy.
I'm not sure what the numbers are in pairs to get 3 spots, if it's the same as singles.
Wait a second. It's the same. Yes. I haven't thought about this in a hot second. Wait.
They have to be 7th and 8th. No.
Oh, 7th and 6th or 5th. Yes.
Yeah.
Which, okay. How did Italy do in pairs? I think, did they do it?
They might have. They were fairly high, right?
Yes. Okay. Oh my God, you're really putting me on the spot. I was
Okay.
at practice and like okay. No, they did not. So they only have, wait a second, 6 and 9. They did not get it done.
So it's going to be another fight this year. It was actually to me exciting because the rivalry of like who's going to do it, because they're very closely evenly matched
Yes.
in terms of ability, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, more or less, not far apart.
And then we'll see Rico and Ricci against Ellie and Danny again at NHK. Valentina and Max from the US, Bakari and Goris, Hawk and Kunkel, and the Georgians will be there. Finlandia, the Australians.
Go back one sec. Japan has a TBD for Japan. Do they have 3 teams yet? Because I see they have now 2, and is that the junior team or is that, I can't remember. Did they have other teams at their nationals this last year? Again, you don't have to look that up.
I think Bruno Marcotte has another Japanese.
I know that, and I don't know if this is the team, and I don't know their names. I know he has another team, but I was wondering if they have a 3rd team that the TBD is waiting for.
I don't know. Also in the US, Delilah was banned, so her teams are now in Colorado. And
She still had teams.
well, she was still coaching. So she had Mark was there and she had some other teams that were younger. So they've gone to Dream Weekends. So yeah, that SafeSport document was well over 1,000 pages when all was said and done, because they had interview transcripts and then the actual report was hundreds of pages. So that's, yeah.
I'm glad something finally moved in that case.
Yeah, and it goes back to like when you were competing.
Mhm.
So, and there's definitely like other things in there, like other people that could have disciplinary action based on some of the things that were questioned in there. So, yeah. I mean, I really wonder if SafeSport like has a database of the interview transcripts so that you could go cross-reference it. Because if you think about it, people's places and things, these are going to overlap later on.
We have enough staff to do anything. I'm glad that something moved, but it felt like something goes to SafeSport and then just is stagnant because there's not enough staffing, or
Well,
funding or
so
something?
Delilah and Brendan Carey both got you know, banned, within a relatively short amount of time. So it was interesting that they all of a sudden made those cases finalized. I don't think that that was random, right? Like I think
Oh. Do you maybe think that they have funding and staffing now? Or is it certain things in the media that
I
prompted
think
them to go?
I think it's something, I don't know, you're right, which it was, but I definitely listen. I'm sure the media definitely helped speed that up. But yeah, and now in Australia, the Brendan Carey story is a huge media story. Yeah. Going on and on about it, and they're doing their own investigations into it. So that story is definitely not over. And I
Is he
think
from Australia or banned from the States?
he's banned in the States, but in Australia, they're looking into
Oh,
it.
I understand. Sorry. So SafeSport, like the States, banned him, not Australia.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Meaning that he can't bring a team here or teach someone from the States or can't teach here.
Correct. He
Okay.
cannot teach here, or if he wanted to compete again, I think that would do that in as well. So yeah. So also Finland, we are going to see Emily and Spencer, Gilardi and Ambrosini, the Hungarians, Deanna and Max, and the Australians. And in China, Leah and Trent, Peng and Wang, Minerva Haas and Nikita Volodin, Kontin Machi, and Valentina and Max again. So I feel like it's going to be a better Grand Prix season than last year. Like I'm feeling more optimistic about it. I want to see how Brady and Alissa do. What are you excited about?
I think the men's event is the most exciting. It seems to have like the most ability to shake up who's in the top, except for Ilya is probably still the top. I mean, you have a quad axle and you can we're doing rehearsals and we're standing there taking notes and he does a turn, he steps and he has a triple axle, like Dick from Stanso.
Okay.
So talented that kid. Like, so when you have that ability to do everything and your easiest jump in your program is triple lutz, triple axle, like it's hard to beat that, but he is losing a jumping sequence or a jumping. Are we losing a jumping pass or just a jump? Like, will we still have three combos? I forgot to look that up.
You'll
I
have
think
the
like
combos. Yes.
the
It's not
men.
finalized yet, but the one interesting thing is they're getting rid of the Euler as one of the jumps, right? So it's a non-listed element. So Ilya could actually even though they're getting rid of a jumping pass,
You could
he
get
can,
one more triple toe, like triple flip, half loop, triple saw, triple toe. I'm sorry, Euler.
yes, right? Or he could pop on another axle or do something like that. So he has that
Yeah,
ability. And
but you
then
can only do the axle as a combo once, like as a
yeah,
second jump. I mean, you
yes,
can do triple toe, double axle, but you can't go triple toe, double axle, and then triple lutz, half loop, triple saw, double axle. Like you can't use it twice that way, I don't think, because it's a sequence and you can only have one sequence.
yes.
I can't
I
remember.
don't think that in the pairs, they're not repeating the double axle anymore. It'll be like triple toe, double axle, but you can't do triple toe, double axle, double axle.
Didn't read the pairs at all.
It's okay. My brain is
Notice
fried.
someone from Canada is decided to go through the whole entire ISU handbook and try to edit it so that it's more concise.
That would be helpful. And
I
written clearer English would help. Yeah, they could have translations. It'll be great. Yeah. They were talking about it today that they want the rules to be clearer. As
Do we think there are too many rules? Do we
yeah,
think that's a problem?
yes, yes.
Like when you watch a show, for example, pair skating, like Dan and Max are fantastic. And when you watch them in Stars and Ice, like the pair skating elements are some of the most exciting. The crowd loves it the most.
Yes.
I mean, you can't do a headbanger in competition, and that's probably a good idea. I mean, talk about backflip not being safe, like a headbanger in the
Yeah.
hands of someone who's not a good skater is terrible. But pair skating elements are some of the most exciting, but I find that somehow something is lost between shows and pair skating and competition and pair skating, where it sometimes becomes the most boring. And that's not the right word because pair skating is exciting, but the way that pair programs must be constructed under the rules makes them the worst to watch. And it's not the skater's fault. I think it's the rules.
Are you pro backflip or anti backflip?
I'm fine with it. It's no one's gonna try it on the ice that can't do it off the ice. Like no one's, I don't think, like
No.
if that's the reason why, like I think people were like, oh, let's watch skating because Adam Salmon did a backflip of like, that's fantastic. We need as much of that as we can get. And Ilia's trying to learn a backflip because I think because Adam did it, like, then that's exciting because, the amount of cool tricks that Ilia can do jump wise, I'd like to see that in his program.
Yes, the only thing in pro skating, when we used to do the guys that could do the backflip, they would do like these lyrical ballads and still do the backflip at the end, which is kind of like a celebratory move. Like Brian Orser, Robin Cousins, Scott Hamilton, no matter what the vibe is of the program, the backflip will go at the end. And like sometimes it didn't fit, right? Like, I don't think that move went there. Like, I just don't, it wasn't the vibe, right?
Yeah. Careful with the backflip in shows because that becomes your trick.
Yes.
And then that's all you're known for, or that's what people are waiting for. And then, like you said, you have to put it in everything, and then you've got a slow program where it doesn't work, or you
Yeah.
do too many of them and you make it not as special.
Yes.
We did this year in Stars because of Keegan's backflip. We decided at the end of the show to actually measure how long his backflip was.
How long was it?
So I think Alaj has the Guinness Book of World Records and it's 19 feet.
Okay.
Don't count me on that. Something like that. And so obviously this won't go in the Guinness Book of World Records because you have to have something there and blah, blah, blah. But we measured it at the end of the show, like during the bows. And by the end, I believe he got 21 feet, 6 inches. Like Keegan went around the corner of the rink to do his backflip. Like I've never seen anyone skate that fast in my life.
I saw him skate in Ilia's show. He was amazing. He did a backflip right in front of us because we were sitting on the ice in the on-ice seating. So
Yeah. And that's a backflip that like is spectacular and should be in a show or
it was such a show, Ilia's show, because it was Ari Zakarian on ice. Okay, it was everything you would think of a guy that was the acrobat and champions on ice, right? From
he knows how to put on a good show.
there was the like, we had the guys with the flames. What could go wrong, right? Whether flames on ice, trying
They
to
were
run.
on Halloween on ice too. Do you remember Akip and Ari? No,
Um,
Itis. Oh my goodness, Akip. We had Itis and Akip and Itis because Ari used to do it with Akip, and then Ari went on to be agent and manager. And so Itis was, and they had the flames. They did the flames.
I don't remember them in that Halloween. I mean, I went to Halloween Nights. I saw you there, and
They were in the show. But I think like I we Ari was in
one where I
Japan.
went to say hi to you behind the show, and I didn't know that you were with Kurt, and he was like keeping very close, like as though I was hitting on you, and I was like, I don't think I'm your competition. So, yes, I don't remember a lot from that show, but I remember it was very entertaining. It was you, Johnny Weir, Nicole Bobeck. There were witch hats. You were Hunchback of Notre Dame. Halloween on Ice is like not Halloween's not my thing. Okay, it's
So
just
it was like a side story. It was such an interesting show because first of all, we got people who would maybe come to Stars, but it was mostly like, my kid comes in a Halloween costume and they get a free ticket or something like that. Like it's more like Disney in the crowd. And Kurt choreographed the show and we were doing tech rehearsal. And first of all, the cast was so strange. You had Nicole Webber, Nancy Kerrigan, Johnny Weir,
don't call that strange. Call that excellent. Like
no, no,
that.
no. So like it was just a strange mixture of generations of people, but like fantastic cast. It was so much fun. We get along so well. Like, and we were doing tech run, and Jerry Solomon was the manager director of the show. And he comes down in the middle, from wherever he's standing, and he comes down and he's starting to talk to Kurt. And essentially, what he told Kurt was like, you know what? I want everyone out on the ice in everyone else's numbers. And we're all like, what? That's crazy. Nobody does that. Like, this is stupid. And then we're like, oh, well, he won't figure out that it's stupid until we do it. So then it was an 8-hour tech run. We all went out on the ice in everyone else's numbers except Johnny's and Nancy's. And it was the most fun. Like, it was so much fun. It was the stupidest thing ever, but it made the show fun. Then you're out on the ice and you're doing stuff and you're actually kind of creating your own character.
Mhm.
So it was silly and it was stupid and it was fun. And sometimes just being cheesy is, you got to do that.
I remember that I had like a lot of thoughts afterwards. I don't remember any of them now. I was there a coffin in the show? There was a coffin, right?
And Johnny Weir came out of it as Dracula.
Who came out in drag? Wait,
Johnny
John.
Weir. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was Dracula. And there was, and I remember as well, the girl, there was a witch's girls number, and then there was a boys number. They were all wearing pumpkin heads. And
Yes.
Jacob and Itis were in it. And then they said the day before the show, they were like, you know what, we're just not good enough skaters. We don't want to be in this number. Like, we just don't feel comfortable skating wise. And so Kim Navarro and I had to learn the number the day of the show, or the day, like the night before the show or something, because the boys didn't want to be in it, and you have pumpkin heads on, so you can't really tell who's in it. So we're trying to learn the number, but we're doing dress rehearsal. But the problem is you have a black hood over you, and then the pumpkin head with like the eyes like this, but it's like black painted screen mesh. So
Mm.
trying to look, oh, if I don't remember that step and you're trying to look behind you, you can't see anything out of here. Like, we were like, we got to take these pumpkins head off to like do dress rehearsal because we don't know the number yet.
Will you skate in a pumpkin head again? Like, is that
You know what? If someone asks me to, I will. Because we think about skating as this high uppity form of art, but sometimes it's just entertainment, and that's okay too.
Listen, I'm still trying to figure out what happened to that Garrett Kling number at the Dick Button Festival where the guys were in the mesh shirts and they were like, what happened when they were like all kind of climbing on the boards at the end? It was something. Okay. It was a vibe. It was a scene. It was,
Yeah, but I like they bring because it makes you think, and they do stuff that like we don't consider in a way skating. You know what I mean? Like, skating has to look like this and it has to be like this, and they're trying to push the boundaries of like what we see in skating or what skating is or what. So it's fun to have all sorts of different, and then skating with Next Ice Age, and it's all about John Curry and that type of skating.
that was a fun class when we took Nathan Birch's class together. That
Oh,
was
cool. So cool. It's pure
totally,
skating.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I spent a lot of time thinking about what was it, cross rolls and the 6 legs positions that we have to hit. Did you learn that when you went to work with him? Like, have you
No,
mastered?
we didn't do much edge classes, which I would absolutely also love to do, but we didn't get there because the rehearsals were just for this particular piece and not the other pieces that they were going to bring back. So hopefully that happens because I really want to be a part of it.
It was as over the top as I expected from Nathan Birch, and we need to do it again. Like I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Like, I just want to know more about like everything that you know what I mean, like how they saw skating or how John Curry sees skating, and that we're talking about like the rules and skating and blah blah blah. It's like, who cares where someone's foot is? I mean, we do aesthetically, and it when someone has good, nice feet and positions, for example, Jason Brown, when he's skating, like at all times, he seems to know where every part of his body is, and that's why he's so good. But when somebody's sloppy, what difference does it make in their score? None, but it should.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Alissa. We'll have to bring you back this year. And I think Jonathan's on vacation. So you did a great job standing in. So thank you so much.
You're making me watch skating.
Yes.
We should commentate some pro competitions.
Oh, what pro competition do you want to commentate? I'm ready.
I,
Anyone. Will Kurt commentate with us if we
I'm sure he could probably tell us backstage stories of the competition too.
someone requested that we judge every man from the Calgary Olympics because it's the Olympic Channel put it on. It's like the best competition, the men's event. So
Okay.
we need like a diverse group, and I want to know why Kurt did the quad towards the end of his program. Only Kurt would do that. That's a very cool
No,
thing.
it's because I think his coach told him if the program is going well, then you can try the quad.
How is that going to go well? We're thinking of like
Because they didn't think he was going to land it. Like, it was like, he's only going to get this place anyways. So as long as this, like, don't put it at the beginning and then throw off the rest of your programs. Like, do the rest of the program, make sure it's okay, and then throw in the quad if you want, just for fun.
it's a great event. We should get Belinda to judge too.
Also, we have to go back to like 1960s and watch those nationals because,
Right.
okay, I was watching them last year. There's some that are like, first of all, Carroll Heiss's program, so cool.
Oh, because
This,
she did the axles in both directions. Yes.
yeah, some of this, the little stuff she does are so neat. Anyway, there's a man, and I think his first name is, ooh, I'm not gonna put myself there. I can't remember his name. I have to look it up. I think I've told you about him before. The men's programs are 5 minutes long.
Yes.
Commentators were talking, and this guy was kind of no longer in medal position. Like he had been going to college full time, and he just competed at nationals for fun.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But so he wasn't like trying to be in the top three, but he was doing his best out there. And you can tell he's like making up the program because there's no
Mhm.
rules in a free program. Like you can do as many jumps as you want. So he's doing stuff, and then he goes down to the end of the rink, and he's like doing hoppity hoppity hop, split jump, hoppity hoppity hop, split jump. And the commentators are like, and he does the third split jump, and he lands off the ice, and he keeps running, and that's the end of his program.
But I think he had a medical event, right? And then that's why Douglas Ramsey went to the World Championships.
This guy didn't make the podium or anything.
He didn't
Like
make
he
it. Okay.
competing, but I love the fact that he like ended off the ice. There's things that you could do when you had no rules, sometimes failed miserably, and that, like they weren't good, but like some things are the reason we still talk about them today.
I would be curious if they have more of those like footage at the museums, because I've always been curious, like Carroll Heiss's siblings competed, and it would be interesting. And so I was looking up the results, and Frank like competed against Carroll Heiss's brother. And
Hey.
yeah, and then her sister was on the world team with her. So they went to worlds together. And if you look up Carol Heiss, like Life magazine took a lot of photographs of her entire family together in New York because the media's right there and they were skating Rock World Center, and it's a lot of
Nice.
interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of would like to take a deep dive in the history of skating to like, I mean, we talk about it, and Janet Lynn, and John Curry, and like the people that the names, Sonia Honey, but like some of the stuff that's out there, we saw a pair team do in Killian hold flip jump. So they
Mhm.
jumped in hold,
Wasn't that Maribel Vincent's daughter that you were telling me about then?
but and then
Yes.
they did like waltz jump loop, and they did like waltz jump, and then they in the middle of the loop they switch hold. But like stuff like that, you just, because there are now rules, you can't do creative things of that sort.
I watched Karen Cortland's program from 92, and
Okay.
they did a triple twist, like split triple twist, landed, he gets behind her immediately into a throw triple.
I think I've seen that. And I think another team did that with a side by side jump or something.
Okay. So like
And I
those kinds of things are like very cool that people would never do
and
now.
people would never take a chance or risk on it now. Because you could do a throw and then turn around and do a double flip, but now you can only have so many side by side jumps, and they have to be worth the most you can have. And I mean, I don't know, there's just, I think that if we weren't constrained by rules, but then we wouldn't be a sport, and we wouldn't be in the Olympics. And
Well, they could, I think the benefit of the choreographic elements is if they start to add more in, and I think it's going to take time because people are going to get all pearl clutching, right? But each time you allow like a choreo element,
hmm,
you allow more originality, and
yeah.
you're judging the quality. And we're not saying that we're going back to 6-0, right? Because that's not going to happen. But what you're
Yeah.
doing is you're evaluating the quality of an element and allowing each person to be different and to show individuality, as opposed to having to do prescribed number of features that then don't look good on everyone. And then
And
everybody has the same spin, right? Or the same lift.
I think the choreographic sequence especially brought us back the spiral sequence without having required Arena Sitskaya spiral sequence. Like if you have a good spiral, put it in. If you have a good spread eagle, put it in. If you have a good Ina Bauer, put it in. If you have a good cool move that you made up like Kevin Amos, like I like actually the choreographic sequence because I feel like that's old school creativity
Yeah.
without being judged. And there's a base value for whatever you do, and everyone's going to get, a more or less the same score, but I really don't care. I mean, on that particular sequence.
And I think it's time to make the footwork choreo, but with some guidelines, right? Like about what a level, because it just takes forever. And I think that part of the things that we love to skating is that when Yuka would just like flutter across the ice, and maybe it's not as many difficult turns, but you can't tell me that it's not difficult what she did or that it didn't have quality,
I
right? Like,
mean, that was that was old school footwork, was to do it as fast across the ice as you can and maybe turn the other way once. And so maybe we don't want that anymore, but I'm embarrassed to say that I forward through the step sequence half the time because that is the most boring part of the program. Unless it's the part where they suddenly decide that they have personality for, one run across the ice and then it's gone again. So I just despise what the step sequence has become.
Yes, it's become a rest for most people.
Not even
And
the rest, it's the amount of things required, and it means you can't be musical unless you really, really try harder. You are Rohini Ward choreographing something. Like what he does for Jason, I think is brilliant.
yes,
And it's Jason and Rohini together, but Rohini knows how to choreograph a step sequence to the music.
and it's
Or
also
think about it.
it's also why we see a lot of these ambient music choices, because you have to pick a piece of music that can go with anything, right? Like anything could be happening there.
And I know that music can be very this music is in style now and this music is in style. I mean, we had how many pair seasons where everyone did a ballad for the short program because it was artsy or so that they were musical or whatever. And now I think skating is musically like that, and that's okay. But you're right. It's like there were a few, I can't remember who it was, and I literally cannot remember. Last year, somebody did a step sequence. It was, it was one of the Japanese skaters, one of the Japanese women
Okay.
had a step sequence. Which which Grand Prix did I commentate with you? Skate America? Skate Canada? I can't remember. Skate America because I wore the vintage sweatshirt.
Skate America,
Skate Canada.
we did it. I was in Lake Placid once and Kevin really bombed, but I don't think that was a Grand Prix.
That was the final, right? Or no? Or Europeans. I think it was European. Anyways,
I remember
go
where
back
I
and look.
was. I don't remember what event it was. You
It was
did
either Skate America, Skate Canada. Pardon.
yes. I think you did Skate America, Skate Canada. Yeah.
One of the Japanese women in one of those events, I cannot remember, I'll have to look it up. Her step sequence was brilliant. Like that's what I want a step sequence to be with the music.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
it was actually like it was performance. It wasn't like, here's my personality in the step sequence, or let me, make sure I get all my bullet points. It was like, I don't know what level she got on there. I hope she got +5s because it was fantastic. With the music, it was part of the story. And that's what a step sequence should be, but it's 1 in 100 that we get. And I think that the step sequence should be murdered, to be taken out of there, and something should change. I know that they're trying to make it like you're a good skater if you can do these things, but now it's not a good program if you can do these things.
And we also have to make it so that former skaters want to watch, because I think people would be shocked at how many former skaters don't watch a lot of the competitions unless they're working at an event, right?
Sure, sure.
So, I had a moment where someone like a couple skaters called me during World Championships last year, and I said, "Wait a second, I'm watching this. You competed there, and you're not watching Worlds." And like people, no, no,
No, which to me is sad. And I've only started noticing it the last few years, but I think it's the lack of personalities. It's the lack of characters. I don't know what it is. It's something that actually watching a skating program competitive. I don't mean for shows, because I see in the shows and I'm like, wow, these people are good and I want to watch this. So something about the new system has killed what's special about skating. And I'm not saying I know the answers. I don't even pretend to know what should happen to bring that back, but it's something.
yeah. Yeah, and I think there are some personalities that we need to lean into and encourage. And I don't think that every free skate should be sad, right? Like I think we need to diversify.
I think even with Kaori last year, she's got a fantastic personality, so much fun. And then I thought that her programs were a little too serious last year.
Yes.
Sorry, not serious. Musical.
Yeah.
I don't know lyrical, how to say that, because that is telling the judges that you're artsy, but that shouldn't be the only way. And I give props to Luna for choosing dance music because at least it's different.
Yeah.
At least it's different.
It works for her. When she tried to be artsy, that was a terrible season when with that
I liked
program
her
kept changing theme.
program.
I'm sorry.
I liked your Cleopatra program. Now I'm second guessing myself if it was Cleopatra.
Yes, but remember she had that white dress this season after the Olympics, and it was not it. And it
But like I said before, we don't need to skate to fast or slow. Like there are so many more options out there that we've forgotten exist in skating. I
Yeah.
mean, Roslyn Sumners with her Black Velvet program. Where's that? Where's Christy Gucci with her Oh So Quiet program? Like those are not fast or slow programs. They're full of more things. I don't know.
God. Roz skated to Kate Bush, and
Watch
it
that one. Did you just post that one?
yes,
So good.
because Yvonne Gomez was like raving about the program. So then I posted it.
Good.
Yeah.
And she does, there's a move in there that I took a screen recording of because it's really neat. But I loved the program. I thought that it was a bit of a ballad program, but I felt like the choreography was not just a ballad program.
Yeah, it was great. It was like her best program. I had
I'm
never really.
assuming it's Sandra Leanne.
Well, I don't know who did it. We'll have to ask Ross. So yeah. So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Alyssa. This is so interesting. We just started like talking about random programs. Yes. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah. I think the Roz program. Yeah, things to do. Yeah.
All of them. Jill Trenery's, these boots are made for walking.
Listen, Jill Trenery's regular program from 1990, when you're talking about mashups, it better not be that one, because that program, I don't know what the three pieces of music have to do with each other, but it's wonderful. Okay.
That's what I was saying about some old school programs. Like, why did people put these three things together? But
That's okay. If you want to laugh, go back and watch any of the early Brian Boitano programs, because they used to have like 4 to 5 pieces of music. And the second to last one, Brian is always boogieing. Like he'll be really serious for the first 3. Random boogie back to serious. It's the best part. It's the best part of any of the Brian.
people watched Figure Skating. Also, there were, 5 channels on TV and
Yeah, you have to go watch it. Okay, like Brian at 83 or 85 worlds, just like he's having a moment. Like
okay.
his private dance party, he could have competed in ice dance. Yeah, it would have really.
That's awesome. Oh, I love the videos that you've been posting lately, the old school ones. So good.
We try to class it up a bit. We try to like, make a little bit of a statement on social media with like
You
what
Barbie and Paul as well.
yes.
Unchained Melody
Yes, we enjoy that. Yes.
and When a Man Loves a Woman.
Yes. Okay. There's one Barb Paul program. I have to ask Sandra, but he's wearing like a mesh shirt that's like
It's When a Man Loves a Woman. No, it's not. Wait, is it?
no.
I can't remember.
What was he
I don't
wearing?
know what he's wearing, but like you would never believe that they weren't together as a couple in that program.
Yes. So I think we need to go back pre-stars. And I think Brian and Sandra would tell. I think we've been sleeping on the Boitano Vit tour because we were too young. But it was like a really good show where they had Gary B come in and he's very eccentric. So when Katerina and Brian had their own tour for 3 years before they got Sandra for stars,
For Carmen?
Carmen, and then they had 2 years after.
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gary Beacom, Malevolent Landscape and I'm Your Man.
Oh, okay. Alyssa, you're just like, okay, you know what? You can text me if you want me to post these things. Okay. You know what's hilarious is that people will always be like, can you post this? And I'm thinking like, you can go to YouTube and watch it right now. Like I'm not like talented. Like sometimes I am, like with what I find stuff. Like I'm a good researcher, and I'm like, we'll find stuff. But like people will be like, can you post this one? And I'll be like, you can go watch that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go on, they're like, oh, there's Kurt again.
Yes, we
You should watch Kurt. I think I told you this before, Crash. Dave Matthews Band Crash Into Me. And there's 3 different versions, but not the competitive version is not. I think it's from 2000 Canadian Stars on Ice.
You know what? Anytime I post the clown number of Kurt, people go crazy.
It's my favorite. It's one of my
At the World Pro, like no, the World Team Championships or something, people go crazy over that program, like crazy.
that program. I wish that the warm up was on video because apparently, so there's Alexi Gooden like being all serious, warming up his triple axel and whatnot. I don't know what he did. And then you have Kurt out there who spent half the warm up in his guards on the side of the boards just clowning around. Like he didn't warm up anything. he just established his character in the 5-minute warm-up. Guards on the ice, trying to like make it down the ice, like on the side of the boards, grabbing on, trying to hold on to people, grabbing their popcorn. Like he spent 5 minutes clowning around, and then I think like got his guards off, did a triple toe on the way off, and then like that was his warm-up. So that video that you posted where David Fortier pushes him out with the guards,
Yes.
that's how that competition started.
Okay.
So he already had the audience in the palm of his hand in a way, because they're entertained by the 5-minute warm-up,
Yes.
which no one has the guts to do. I mean, and you know, in even a pro competition where they had to be serious and like, you know, land their jumps, then you have someone doing this. Like, it's no wonder that that character is loved so much.
Yes. Maybe I'll post him and Tara when they did a duet kind of a clown. It's her birthday today. I need to post something.
There
So,
was, I think that theme, I think the reason that his clown number existed was Stars had a clown theme for that year. So Sandra created that clown. There's a duet with him as a clown, but maybe not that clown with Tara.
yes.
And I think that there were other clown. There's one that they're all wearing a clown costume. It's quite cool. I mean, the
Yes.
costumes are cool. I can't remember the number of that one.
They were clowns. There's water that posed because he did it because Tara was young, right? And they were like, what are we gonna do?
Yes. Yes. Sandra's brilliant. Everything she created, like for Stars, when you go back and watch those, you're like, she just knows what to do.
Apparently, she choreographed for Lindsay again. I haven't seen the program, but Lindsay holds a spiral like forever,
Yes.
which is just like a nice touch, right? To give us a nice homage to when skating was lovely. So, yeah, I it'll be. I saw Julia Lautova at the Ilia show, right? And she was like, yeah, Sandra's working with Lindsay again. And we know you're gonna love whatever Sandra does. And I was like, yes, Julia, I will. Yes, I will. She's a little scary. Yeah.
And to make a point, I believe that Sandra told us that they continued to come back to Sandra throughout the year. So they didn't just get a Sandra program and then leave and then do whatever they wanted with us. I think with it, I think they went back and saw her to make sure that it stayed true to Sandra's vision and that she could continue to adapt it throughout the year. I
I
believe
like
that.
she pretends that she doesn't want to choreograph, and then we keep seeing her choreographing with David Wilson. Like
I
she puts
think,
the game every year. Yeah.
I think it's also because it is really hard to choreograph in the new system.
Mhm.
Because when you have a vision of skating like Sandra does, which is the vision that skating should be at the time, you to be constrained by the rules of the new system
Yeah.
means compromising your vision for what skating is.
Yeah. It's true.
So, you know, I think with David's help, because David creates so many programs in the new system, so he understands how to manipulate a program to both be a great program and follow the rules. I think that he's able to bring Sandra in because she doesn't have to do all the nitty gritty of following the rules.
Yes. She adds the touch. The
Yeah. I mean, what they do together is so great. And David too. I mean, he's really a master at the new system and creating character programs, which I love. I loved working with David. I'm biased. I loved working with him.
people need to use Renee more. We need to bring back her vision too.
Does she do stuff in the new system? She did my program in 2011. She did my short.
Did we like your short in 2011? You wore a white dress with like a little purple schmutz going on. Yeah, I think we liked it. Yeah.
Good.
And we
It had
like,
a step sequence that was actually slow in a way. I don't know. I liked the program.
and then the next year, I liked your short better than your free. But it was Livy and Rose, the Edith. Yeah. It was the
Yeah,
short.
that was Yuka and Pasquale.
Free, you wore dark purple, and I don't remember the music, but it was nice.
I
It
didn't
was
like it. It was the one that Tess and Scott used. No, it wasn't. I think they did use it. It was not, it wasn't a good program. I mean, we tried something and it didn't work.
but you had a good Skate America against Carolina Costner that year. Like,
I beat her by what, like 0.1 or something?
yeah, it was really close. It was
It
really
was my short that won the competition, not the free program. I didn't. Also tried triple style, which kind of never happened in my career.
It's okay. You can let that go. Yes, that's right. It was like a big deal that you were trying all of the triples at that competition.
I had to because I was adding triples in, I think axle toe, well, axle toe's not triple, but axle toe and let's toe. And so I had to do sow because you can't repeat, like, the repeating rule. And I could do triple sow. I just don't know why it didn't work in competition. My axle and sow neither were strong because it takes off the right leg, and it just wasn't my strong suit.
Okay.
Oh well.
Oh well. Well, this was fun. Yes, I'm going to look up a bunch of fun programs. Thank you so much for coming on and talking skating with us.